we're going to keep moving just to make sure that we stay on track. But yeah, if you have any other questions and you want to continue a conversation, please reach out to them directly. All right, it is now my honor and my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Fernando Rosario. Fernando is the president of ExecPath. He is an executive with over 20 years of consulting experience in the financial services and technology industries, with a successful track record of managing the delivery of complex programs with values of over $50 million. Fernando epitomizes Latino business leadership in the U.S. He is a familiar name to a number of our Angeles members with whom he's constantly collaborated on great initiatives. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, he helped facilitate the LEAD 2025 program at the Alpha Convention, which focused on how to lead with purpose and presence. And today, he's going to give us a small taste of his upcoming book, Amplifiers, Scaling Influence Beyond Yourself. So let's please welcome Fernando to the stage with a massive applause. You want the mic?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay without the mic? Yes, no, maybe? Don't all answer at the same time. Yeah, you can, right? In the back, can you hear me okay without the mic? Oh, we got people. Yes, yes. So we're running into a small glitch because we have to connect my computer or transfer the files. And I'll do a little dance while we do that. Okay. Real quick, so I'll get started. This is the file, guys, if you want to transfer it. You'll figure it out? Okay, so this is the file right here. All right. So apologies about that, but you know, we're in the technology business, so a glitch here and there doesn't matter, right? So real quick, I'm not going to talk to you about AI or ChatGPT or anything like that. I'm not going to talk to you about technology, but I'm going to talk to you about some of the fundamental soft skills that we should all have. So real quick, before we even get started, I want you to turn back and forward and introduce yourself to somebody you do not know. And we're not going to make this a networking event. So I want to make sure that you know the person behind you and the person in front of you. So real quick, don't stand up. It's real quick. Erika, un placer. Nice to meet you. All right. 30 seconds, 30 seconds. All right. All right, all right. Let's bring it back then. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back real quick, everyone. See, I said don't get up, and people got up. I'm going to start calling you by name. Like these two right here, I'm going to have to sit down. Are we back? Are we back? Fernando, un placer. All right. So real quick, before we move any further, let me introduce myself. Are you back or are you still doing introductions? Back there. All right. So let me introduce myself real quick. So again, my name is Fernando Rosario. I am by trade an electrical engineer who's absolutely terrified of electricity. That's my fun fact. It's a true statement. I'm an engineer. I did about 25 years of consulting, technology, financial services. I stopped doing that. I come from a small town in Puerto Rico called Aguadilla. Does anybody know where that is? Yes. Very small town. I then tried my luck at entrepreneurship, so I opened up a technology company, financial services, real estate, and I sold that to a company in Colombia. So I spent quite a bit of time in Colombia and Ecuador, Argentina, Mexico, doing financial services, fintech. And then over the last 15 years, I would say I've been doing executive coaching. I've been doing leadership development, which is my passion. So I moved a bit away from corporate America or that technology side of the house, although I still do a bit of technology because I am a geek at heart. So with that, over the last few years, I started with the idea of writing the book Amplifiers. And I first started with a concept that I consider, who's your caddy? And the reason I started with that concept is because many, many years ago, when I wanted to be an executive like G or like Marcelo or like David Olivense, I figured I need to learn how to do something, and that is how to play golf. Have you been there? Because that's where decisions are made. So I bought everything. I bought the shoes, the pants, the socks, the belt. If you saw me standing there, you would think, Tigre de Madera #2. This guy knows how to play the game. I hired a professional golfer. This is a true story. Everything that I say is a true story. I hired a professional golfer in Orlando, Florida, and on the third lesson, he said, Fernando, you can't do this. We're, we're not doing it. We're not doing it to you, to myself. I can't do this. I'm going to refund your money. And I said, but I paid for 10 lessons. And he said, we're not. We're not. A true story. So I didn't learn how to play golf, but I figure out how to insert myself into the game so I can be in the decision-making process. I'm not suggesting you learn how to play golf. All I'm saying is I was trying to figure out my place in the business, okay? With that, the idea of who's your caddy came about. Like we think that the caddies carry your golf clubs, right? But they know more about the game, the course. They know more about you that you can ever imagine. So they actually can tell you how to hit the ball and play a better game than you play yourself. And who's a professional player, they know this about caddies. That's how the idea started. We ended up with the title Amplifiers. And I'm gonna tell you why. As soon as I get my slides, we'll figure this out. The title Amplifiers came about because we all know about the typical support system that we have, right? You've heard of a mentor, coach, a sponsor. Yes, everyone is absolutely. Now I'm not gonna bore you to death with those three definitions, but I'm gonna give you the ones that I use all the time before we get to amplifiers. So a mentor talks to you, keyword to you, because they speak from a position of having been there, done that. So the advice that they provide is very well intended. I know I'm going to offend some people, but it may not be right for you. Why? Because I may be an extrovert and you may be an introvert. So the advice that I give you, although it's very powerful, may not work for you, or vice versa. So that's a mentor. And many a times we confuse who a mentor is. Number two, a coach. A coach talks with you. Keyword with you, because it's about your strengths, your vulnerabilities. It's how you go about doing the game, which is beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's your decision if you want to make a change or make any trajectory change in your career or life. Then we bump into sponsors. And every time that I ask, do you have a sponsor? People are very quick to answer, yes, I have a sponsor, not knowing that they may have a friend, a colleague, a champion, but they're not truly sponsors. And I can prove that to you. I bet all of you have that one friend that you love dearly. You go to dinner with them. You spend a complete weekend hanging out with them, but you would never, ever recommend them for a job. Do you know who I'm talking about? Exactly. Because to them, you are their sponsor. To them. But behind closed doors, you're not sponsoring them at all. So then we get to that point, and I figure there are some individuals, and I'm hoping that today, at the end of the day, you walk away either wanting to identify amplifiers or become an amplifier yourselves, because we have many of those in here. What is an amplifier, which to me is the fourth level and the one that we try to aim for? These are individuals that not only advise, not only give you guidance, but they engineer breakthroughs. Engineer breakthroughs. And that's a key distinction. Why? Because they can give you advice, you should do X, Y, and Z, but that's as far as they go. Amplifiers take it a step further. Amplifiers will say, not only am I telling you how I would go about it, let me remove the obstacles. Let me open doors for you. Let me make some phone calls. So I want you for a second to ask yourselves, when was the last time that you were an actual amplifier for somebody else? Not giving advice. We can all do that. Anybody can give advice. When was the last time that you picked up the phone, removed a challenge, an obstacle for somebody else? When was the last time that you promoted them? When was the last time that you positioned them strategically to be successful? You want to raise your hands or no? Too sensitive of a question? Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're doing this, you haven't done it. You got to do like this. Yes, if you've done that, then you're amplifying. So I'm hoping that you walk away thinking, all right, how do I become one of these amplifiers? And number one, I got to ask, how many of you know the 5 people you came to meet in this Q3 session? How many of you actually know by name the 5 people? Not that you're going to meet 5 people, by name. I know exactly who I'm going to meet before I leave today. Yes? Who? Okay. See, the hands start coming down a bit because we're not strategic enough on how we want to play this game. Number 2, how many of you know the 5 individuals you will amplify before the end of the year is over? Raise your hand. 5. You gotta know 5. See, the hands start coming down because we're not being strategic, which means we're networking as if we were handing candy at a parade, right? We're networking just to collect names because we want our LinkedIn profiles to have more connections. But I guarantee you don't know any of them. And by the way, amplifiers are probably in one hand in your lifetime. Individuals that will put their name their reputation, their resources, their access for your favor. Does that make sense? Can you kind of see what the difference is now? So next time you talk about mentors, coaches, and sponsors, add to the list amplifiers and who are they in your career and in your life. Okay, are we good with the? No, yet maybe. All right, so we're gonna be done in like 5 minutes, so we should be good. So let me tell you a couple things. So I figure I got to figure out what is it about these individuals. And I went out conducting interviews. I interviewed individuals like G, Marcelo, David, Nelly Borrero, Rosa Ramos Cuoc. I've been going on a hunt to understand what is it that make these individuals who they are. Why? Because you see them everywhere. And not because you see them everywhere, because you see them everywhere making things happen for other people. So they don't just show up. They say, let me connect you. And it's not about connectivity. It's about visibility, access. It's about strategic relationships. So I'm going to give you a couple. I came up with a list of what I'm calling the 12 drivers of amplifiers, which is what I've been able to capture from these individuals that it's not Fernando saying they're amplifiers. If you ask around, they'll tell you that is an amplifier right there, right? How many of you have seen like David Olivencia in action? Would you consider him an amplifier? Absolutely. So I got to interview David to get to understand what is it, not the theory behind it, but you watched them play and it's a different game, is it not? So I came up with what I believe are the 12 drivers of amplification. And number one, let me tell you, if you are not visible, you are irrelevant. And I hope that I'm not offending anyone, right? If you are not visible, you are irrelevant, which means for an amplifier to help you out, you need to have at least a signal that it's worth amplifying. And some of us don't have that signal. Now, we may talk to people and say, I'm performing, I'm delivering, I'm excellent what I do. And when I ask them, do they know about it? Well, not really. Then you are irrelevant. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's because I'm not here wearing my human resources hat. I'm here as an executive coach to say you are irrelevant. They don't know who you are, therefore they cannot amplify you. Which means, imagine that if you're in a session like this one and you have amplifiers next to you and you don't give them a story to talk about, you don't give them a story that is repeatable, you don't give them a signal to amplify, guess what? They're going to move on to the next person because they don't have time to help you out. But if you only knew that they could, you would have done your story differently. The other day, as a proof of concept, I'm running a program, leadership development program. There's about 200 people, and I give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And as you can imagine, you get the typical, hi, my name is so-and-so, I work at so-and-so, and this is what I do. And we go on through that, and everyone starts to pick up the pattern until somebody, and when I explain what amplifiers are, somebody says, Fernando, can I do a redo? I would like to do it again. And I said, no, that's the whole point. You had one opportunity. There were amplifiers in the room, and you missed the opportunity to showcase who you are. Now, if that strikes a nerve, we've all been there, which is why I want to make sure that today you absolutely guarantee on being strategic in your next step. Fair enough? 12 drivers. I'm only going to pick a few because we don't have a lot of time to go through it, but a couple of traits that I've picked up from these individuals. Number one, they have an amplified voice. They have an amplified voice. When they speak, people listen. You can be in any scenario, and it doesn't matter if they know who's in the room or not. When they speak, people listen. Have you met someone like that? What they say, it's important, it's insightful, and they don't speak for the sake of saying a few words. They pick and choose their battles. So that's number one. Number two, they have a story to tell. So how many of you are clear on the story that you're telling others about yourself? And by the way, it's like a good Hollywood producer. You need to understand that all the senses come into play, right? Visuals, auditory, kinesthetic. You have got to play the game. So they have a story to tell. Better yet, they have multiple stories that they switch depending on who they're talking to and what the scenario is. So again, I want you to think, do you know someone like that that is a storyteller? Very, very powerful. Are you looking to pitch your startup? You better have a great story because you have to connect not only financially, yes, very important, but emotionally as well. So storytelling. 3, the power of influence. These individuals can influence using many resources to their disposal. They can actually leverage people, connections, they can leverage knowledge, but they know how to influence you and your team. Again, many of us want to believe that we're influencers, and I'm not talking about TikTok influencing. I'm talking about walking into a room, whether it's with a board of directors or it's a team meeting, and they can actually influence the outcome. You may believe it was your decision. Think again. They knew all along where this was going to end up, but you walked away feeling I had a part in it. Have you ever felt like that? And you walk out thinking it was my decision. They're like, good for you. Good for you. That's fantastic. So that's number 3. I'm going to talk to you about a fourth one, which is bold action. Yes, you got to be willing to take some risks, and we're not always willing to take those risks because we don't want to live with the consequences. I talk to some individuals that are entrepreneurs, and they tell me, Fernando, I'm working my ass off. I'm working 40 hours a week. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't even fall in the entrepreneurship category. But in their heads, they're thinking, I'm doing the right thing, right? Because they don't have anything to compare. Had they had an amplifier in their careers, the amplifier would have told them, you're not working enough. We got to work more, and let me connect you with some individuals, not only to help you out, but you can see what startups do and how they go about this scenario. So that's bold action. For that to work out, you need credibility. And credibility, don't worry about it. We're going to be done. I know it, but thank you. I appreciate it. So we'll go with it. Just continue. Okay. So for that, you need credibility, and credibility can come in ways of. Thank you for your attention. We got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes. No, so we're gonna go. Boom. Don't worry about this. It doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't work. All right, fine. Don't worry. It's all good. Life is good, guys. Don't worry about it. It's good. So credibility. For you to have credibility, you have to do flawless execution. Some people think I'm executing at my level. Yes, but that may be what's expected of you. It's not excellence that we're aiming for. And by the way, when you do excellence, all it means is that you've paid the price of admission. To this day, I still have conversations with many executives where they believe as long as I put my head down and I work hard and I deliver, I will get recognized. And that could not be more of a lie. But I'm amazed that they still have that mindset and continue to move forward with that mentality. Which means if you want to become an amplifier, there's a mind shift as well. Number one, the price of admission is simply executing so you can get credibility. But if you actually want to move forward in that mindset and you, oh, there we go. Too late, but it's all good. Love you guys. Here we go. Don't worry about it. Let me pick. We've already done this. Easier. So here, visibility, we've talked about that one. Don't worry about it. Boom. Credibility, we've talked about that one. Don't worry about it. Access. The right connections unlocked opportunities others never saw. Which means you've got to understand that you may have your plan, your career map already set up. All it takes is one amplifier to show you all of the different variations that you can have from a different perspective that you've never, ever considered, which is very important. That's the amplifier's job. That's the amplifier's job. Oh, timing. Amplifiers know when to do things. Some of us believe, hey, I have a meeting set up, and because it's already scheduled, we're going to go through with it. Amplifiers know when to call that off and say, today is not the day, because timing is absolutely important for amplifiers. Would you agree? Now, am I changing your minds a little bit on how to think about amplification? Yes? For you to be amplified, you've got to be seen. So I got one more here. Strategic relationships. You will become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I bet some of you are thinking, I have got to change some friends. I believe it. Some of you have got to vote some people off the island. And you've been putting that away. Now, because we all think, I guess, in numbers. I'm going to give you some numbers. So imagine a chart where the x-axis is value and the y-axis is effort. You should be aiming for the individuals or the connections that add a lot of value with little effort. But all of us here have that friend and colleague that adds little value and takes a lot of effort. So the question to you is, why do you continue to drag them along? Worse yet, they're dragging you. But you've got to make that decision, because an amplifier would tell you it's your decision, not mine. I'm just telling you that's holding you back. And if you don't listen to their advice, guess what? They stop being your amplifiers. And now you're at a loss, because you're going to drop down. And by the way, I don't say this in a negative way, but you're going to drop down to the mentor, coaches, and sponsors, which all of us are battling for. So if I can leave you with some closing words here real quick. Oh, back. Here we go. So these are the 12 drivers that I consider for amplification. Hopefully you can relate to them. Buy the book. Don't be like that. Just buy the book, okay? Credibility, visibility, strategic relationships, amplified voice, storytelling, execution, clarity, leverage, bold action, elevation, timing, and legacy. And I bet when you meet someone that has 80% of those attributes, you've met an amplifier. Can you think of someone that fits that description right now? And if you can think of that individual, now ask yourself, how close am I to them? Am I getting the benefits from that amplifier? Because it's one thing to recognize it, another one is to take benefit from them. Yes? I'll tell you one last story and I'll close it up. I remember, and this is where the idea of amplification came about. I remember when I was aiming for that promotion. You all know that promotion that you want, the one that you've always wanted. And I had an opportunity to meet with the CEO. It was a lunch in Miami. And I said, listen, I'm aiming for the promotion. It didn't happen last year. Can you give me some advice? And he said, in that napkin, which I still have, he said, write down every individual that sits at the table when your name comes up. Write down every name that sits at the table when your name comes up. So I wrote down, as you can imagine, my supervisors, the head of the department, all the people that you can come up with that are connected to you. He took a look at the list for 30 seconds and said, you clearly have no idea how the game is played. And I said, but I report to them. They write my feedback. And he said, but none of them sit at the table when your name comes up. And I know that because I sit at the table when your name comes up, which is a very, eye-opening experience. He then said, let me help you out. So he scratched all 10, 12 names that I had written. And he wrote down 4 names. He goes, I know those 4 names because they sit at the table. This is where amplification came about. He said, I want you to tell me for each of those 4 names, from 1 to 5, 1 being, they have no idea who you are, you have no idea who they are. 5 being, you can call them up on their cell phones on a Saturday night. That's a 5, so don't kid yourselves. It's not I know them. I can call them up at night on a Saturday night to their cell phones, and they will pick up. No surprise, everyone was a 2, or maybe, all ones, maybe a 2. And then he said, do you see what the problem is? And I said, absolutely, I'm clear. And this is where amplification kicked in, and he said, I'm going to help you, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that all 4 move from 2s and 1s to 3s and possibly 4s, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. And he said, item number 1 is, I am going to make sure that you meet these 2 individuals in New York this day. Still, the naive Fernando was thinking, but I'm not supposed to be in New York that day. He's like, you will meet them in New York that day. So sure enough, he said, just be there. And then still my naive self was thinking, what time? What do you need? He's like, just be there. Sure enough, amplification kicks in when he made sure that in one of the crossovers from meetings to meetings, he actually stopped and made sure that they got to know me, gave them a story about Fernando, something they could repeat, and from that point forward, it was smooth sailing. Does that make sense? So that's just a very simple example. With that, thank you for the time. I know this is not technology, but when you're having the connections today, when you're talking, when you're listening to the pitches, listen to the storyline, listen to what they have to offer, listen to the individual telling you the story, and then ask yourselves, could you amplify them? It's not simply monetary. You can amplify someone by saying, let me introduce you to the following 3 individuals. Let me remove the following obstacle from your way. And better yet, let me position you in a different location, region, group, because that's what we're here to do. So thank you very much. Let me give you my contact information. 1 second, it's at the end. Boom. If please, let's connect via LinkedIn and let's amplify together. So thank you so much for the time today. Have a good day.